Black business history. Rose Meta Morgan, born in Edward, Mississippi in 1912, Rose Meta Morgan grew up in Chicago. Her father, Chappell Morgan, was an extremely successful sharecropper. Mr. Morgan moved his family of 13 to Chicago when Rose was 6 years old. Her father's bravery as a businessman fascinated her. She watched him keep his accounts for much of his life, knowing that one day she would have her own business.
He used to praise everything I did. And I'd work as hard as I could to please him. I believed I could do anything, because he told me I could.
A young 10-year-old Rose began making artificial flowers and convincing neighborhood children to sell them door to door. Her skills with hair flowered into a business by age 14. She attended the Morris School of Beauty. After she styled Ethel Waters's hair in 1938, the performer invited her to New York City. She rented a booth in the Sugar Hill salons. 6 months later she opened her own salon, Rose Meta House of Beauty, in an old mansion. By 1946, the Rose Meta House of Beauty had a staff of 29 employees, including 20 hairstylists, 3 licensed masseurs, and a registered nurse. In the same year, Ebony magazine named it the biggest Negro beauty parlor in the world. In 1955, the facility relocated and reopened under a new name, Rose Morgan's House of Beauty. The building included space for dressmaking and a charm school spread over 5 floors. She also marketed her own line of cosmetics and staged fashion shows. Throughout the 1960s until her retirement in the 1970s, Morgan wrote a column for the New Pittsburgh Courier. In her lifetime, Rose Meta Morgan employed and trained over 3,000 people. Despite the success of her enterprise, including banking more than $3 million in her first decade, Morgan had challenges getting even small business loans because of her race. "I had banked with Manufacturers Trust for 10 years, she said in the 1988 video interview. They would let you have money to buy a car but not for something constructive. I went to them and tried to borrow some money and couldn't get a dime." In 1965, Morgan was one of the founders of New York's only black-owned commercial bank, the Freedom National Bank. In the winter of her life, she returned to Chicago, where she died on December 16, 2008 at the age of 96.